So it's super important to understand and know your audience. And so for you as a pastor, what's great about your congregation is you know your audience. Like, you know your audience super well. Maybe you're a youth pastor who's preaching at youth group, but you're asked to preach in the adult service. Maybe it'll take some adjusting, but you know those people. We're going to talk about how you can make those adjustments. It's so important to really put yourself in the shoes of the people you're preaching to. This comes through just living life with them, visiting them. But you're going to preach to a group of church people differently than you would preach to a group of people who are unchurched.
Yeah, so here's a great example. And this is an extreme example, by the way. This is kind of a funny story, but a sad story, to be honest with you. I was very frustrated. So I grew up in a charismatic environment. Growing up, we had an evangelist that was supposed to be coming to do this sort of like revival thing. It was like, hey, bring your friends. Like, if you have lost friends, bring them to this event. We're going to be doing basketball. We're going to have be free pizza, and then we'll have a short message at the end. That's how it was built. So I thought, okay, this is a great. They're telling me bring my friend. I worked on my the kid down the street, Jared. We play basketball every day, whether it was school or the summer. We played basketball every day for years, and I would always try to be a great example, live my life unto Christ, and so he had great respect for me, and so I finally invited him to this event because they said, "Hey, bring your lost friends." That was the pitch.
I'm really worried about where this is going. We talked about 7 different types of stories, and one of them was tragedy last week, and I'm a little worried about this. This ends
in tragedy for sure. So the evangelist comes in and he does a message on speaking in tongues.
Okay.
Yeah. And there was a lot of speaking in tongues from the platform and the audience. And my friend was so freaked out.
Yeah.
That was a turning point in our relationship that night. I lost trust. Like, it just totally freaked him out. Again, this was a service that they were saying, hey, bring your lost friends. And I think what they failed to realize, my youth pastor and people advertising, is that this is, if you're going to be doing a message on the filling of the Holy Spirit and speaking in tongues, you don't want a lot of lost, unsaved people in the room. There's so much to unpack there. You can't do it all at once. And so he actually never came back to church with me.
Wow,
surprisingly.
That's great. That's just like an extreme example, but it is very real, because I've brought friends and family members to churches, and like there's this like scary moment. Have you ever had this happen where you bring somebody to your church, you're telling them about it, you're like, man, this is just a great place, we love this, and then they're like, hey, the pastor's not here today, we have a guest speaker, and you're like, oh no, like, who is this? And when it's someone good, you're like, okay, like, we dodged a bullet here. But it just goes to show you that different types of audiences require different things, and different churches have different perspectives on that. Some churches say, hey, on Sunday morning we're going to appeal a little bit more, or we're going to explain a little bit more because we know more unchurched people are there. On Sunday night we'll probably get into a little more depth, or we'll talk about the spiritual gifts.